Hello and welcome. Ian Oduwire and Gareth Houley, both directors of ODM Movement, and we would like to give you a view or an overview now of what the intensive workshops will be coming up in your location.
So the intensive workshop's split over 2 days. In the first day, we're going to address from an ODM Movement perspective the topics of tissue, motion and emotion. Now, tissue is one of those things that there's a lot of science around it. And we're going to delve into that science, but particularly from an anatomy train's point of view. We've really taken the research that Thomas Myers has developed and understood how that then moves into a human being and a human body in motion.
And I think it's important that we understand that the roles of the tissues and the roles of the tissues will play once motion starts to evolve. We have to look at rhythm and timing, and we'll look at where it's evolved from, we'll look at where it plays major roles from the very get-go of birth into where the other end of the perspective is when we start to deteriorate and degenerate. So that being said, once we start to understand the rhythm and timing of the body in motion, that will then have an effect on what happens in emotion.
The emotional state of a human being can dictate their physical posture. It can dictate the ability that the tissues have to go through a rhythmic motion. So we need, as health professionals, as movement coaches, we need to understand how that emotion can dictate what motions and what the tissues will allow us to do in a session. That's really important when we start to get towards the second day, which is where we address injury and we address change.
So what's really important to understand, guys, before we even get to injury, that this intensive workshop transformation through application is just that. It's not just information, it is application. You will leave the 2 days understanding the research, the science, but more importantly, how to apply it now with your clients to achieve instant results. And you will be assessed upon that. This is the important thing. We want people now to go to a level where they are competent in what they do. So injury will be a situation on the second day where we'll look at 2 types of injuries. We'll look at trauma and contact, and we'll look at injuries that appear through everyday occupational hazards, repetition, dehydration. If it's a trauma, we'll just say you've got to refer to the health professional. Then, once that happens, we can now come back into our environment and work within our roles, our abilities, to then start to appraise their movement, which is what we are designed to do.
So in that injury section, we'll address some of the common diagnoses that we do get from those health professionals, things like plantar fasciitis, frozen shoulder, lower back pain, those things that our clients constantly come to us with. Because it's going to be our role in this development of spatial health and medicine where we start to use movement and motion to enhance the tissue, enhance their rhythm and timing, and decrease their risk and likelihood of those injuries.
And I think for us, more importantly, to empower the client that when something does go wrong, they now have the education and understanding, they now have the enjoyment or the fun aspect of being able to implement certain tools and movements, but more importantly, they're empowered to understand what they're going to do, because it's not the hour they have with you, it's the 167 hours they have without you that's important. And then we go into change. And that's the exciting part, isn't it, mate?
That's the exciting part. That's where we take the 4 segments that we've done and we just apply it. You know, Ian and I, or in Christchurch, JP and I will be there to help guide you through the process. But over the course of that weekend, as we've said, we want you to have some tools and have some techniques that you can take and apply as you need to. So we'll go through an assessment of a client. You'll go through the different processes and techniques that you can use to help that client get change and help educate them as to why that was the technique and tool that you used at that particular time.
At the end of the 5 components of this weekend, you will truly understand and have a far different perspective on really how these segments all fit into what we do on a daily basis. We at ODM Movement look forward to seeing you there. We know that if you really want to go from good to great, this is going to be a workshop that you'll need to attend, you'll love to attend, and you'll walk away with a whole different view on how you can help your clients.